KyDerby.
Move around the turn. The leader, War Admiral, 2.5 for 3.
Secretary is in the center of the racetrack. The Admiral sloop drawing alongside again.
War Emblem is still there. War Emblem, he's pulling away. He's got another gear. Damn, the sweat thing coming the Derby. Wheel away takes command. Lionheart is all heart. Smarty Jones is all out. And here is the first undefeated winner of the Kentucky Derby since Seattle's Blue of 1976.
And a good morning from Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky, the morning workout show presented by Twin Spires. And as you can see, the sun is rising just over L&N Stadium, right down the road here from Churchill Downs on a clear morning. Temperatures in the mid-50s. It's actually pretty nice out with a fast main track for today's morning activity as we count down the days to the Kentucky Derby. And as always, lots going on here at Churchill Downs during Derby week, including a 6-pack of Derby horses put in their final breezes yesterday here at Churchill Downs. Lots to talk about there because one of them was Potente, who sizzled 5 furlongs. Was not the only fast workout. In 57-4, track was fast, but that's quick. Renegade got his first spin around the Downs here at Churchill. He's drawn the rail. He is the morning line favorite. Explorer, who figures to be one of the favorites in the Kentucky Oaks, also got in her last tune-up, and Bottle of Rouge has defected from the Oaks, meaning Lovely Gray is next up for the 152nd Oaks, and of course the following day, the 152nd Kentucky Derby, Friday and Saturday. From the Aristides Loft on the front side here of Churchill Downs, Travis Stone for Churchill Downs and Nick Tamero for, Sam Houston, Churchill Downs, Twin Spires. Who am I missing?
I think you got all the principles there. I'm just trying to accumulate enough duties to see if I can do any of them well.
Nick was very famous this week. He makes the morning line here at Churchill Downs, and I saw you on the news a little bit.
I was infamous by Sunday afternoon, but yeah, a little famous for a couple of seconds. Everybody's got their 5 seconds of glory.
There you go. On the backside, we've got Megan Devine and Ren Carruthers. We're going to start with Megan, who's just near, I believe, the Lucas Gap. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, happy to join you here for the work show. You know, as a person with a horse background, the workouts, the physical looks of the horses is what I factor into my handicapping most. So excited to see the horses here from the Lucas Gap. Excited to hopefully see Renegade again in person as he may take another spin around the track here today and talk to Brad Cox about his army of horses. And while this is a great vantage point here, Ren Carruthers is around the backside as well. Ren, where are you at this morning?
Well, I'm at the Twin Spires Gap. There's so much action going on. We've been working hard since last Friday. The other media's come to town, got some coffee earlier. There's some donuts from the Salvation Army. And I've been doing my recon, my laps around the barns. I talked to Bob Baffert this morning, and regarding Potente, that fast work wasn't exactly the plan, but he did it well within himself, and he came out of it great. He's very happy with the horse. Everybody I've spoken with is happy with their horses. I've seen Brad Cox this morning. I've seen Ned Toffee. Further Ado was out jogging earlier today, and Chad Brown. So all systems look go. It's one of those situations where no news is good news, but we're still going to have news coming up for you guys. I also have a pedigree profile on Denon Bourbon, but for now, Travis, Nick, back to you.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you, Ren. Post positions were drawn during opening day on Saturday. Wasn't a lot of drama toward the end because the drama got out of the way early when Renegade drew the rail.
Yeah, it wasn't the result I wanted to see, but obviously he ends up the 4-1 morning line favorite. Can work out a trip from the inside. Going to be coming from well off the pace anyway. Just has to negotiate potentially a little traffic.
Irad Ortiz won't hurt with that task, as you can see the second page here. And we're going to have a full gate because we've got an AE list that's coming up as well. You can see Chief Wallaby and Further Ado both figure to take some action.
No doubt about it. Chief Wallaby, a horse I ticked down price-wise as we got closer with all the good morning activity here and the buzz about Bill Mott maybe making it 2 straight.
You can see 4 AEs waiting to get in. In the main body of the field right now is Full Effort, drawing post number 20, one of 3 starters for trainer Brad Cox. Megan Devine on the backstretch with our special guest this morning.
Thank you, Travis. Thrilled to be joined by Brad Cox and talk about his army of horses that you have going towards the big races on Friday and Saturday. Of course, Commandment, Full Effort, Further Ado, and Prom Queen in the Oaks. We'll talk through these horses for the works that we saw this week, starting with Commandment. Boy, this horse looks like a handful. I give Katie Tolbert and your other riders a lot of credit for keeping him together. We saw the work from him most recently on the 25th. And I mean, Brad, what have you done to harness the energy of this horse?
Yeah, I mean, we just let him be himself. He's a good filling horse. He's a very sturdy, strong, stout horse that, is very honest, obviously. He's proven he can handle the Churchill track with breaking his maiden here last fall, and he had a great winner there at Payson and Gulfstream.
And working him leading up to this race, I mean, we see him in company here. He's on the outside. Take me through what you saw from him visually from this work.
Just staying with his workmate, I thought it was a good move. Galloping out, kind of got away from the horse on the inside, which we would expect. And then, once he got clear, he threw his ears up and, continued on up the backside, not being asked for a whole lot, but just stayed on well. Jonathan Santiago breezed him. He's been on him all winter, breezing him, and said, he really gets over this track really, really well. He's got obviously a great foundation in him with having spent the winter at Payson, and I think as long as he gets a trip, he'll be a factor. He's a tough horse. He doesn't need a certain trip. He can come up the inside, split horses, come around. I mean, he's obviously showed different types of winning. Obviously set off I thought somewhat of a slow pace there in the Florida Derby. So he doesn't need a certain trip, and I think he drew well in the Derby as well.
Some good energy coming from the Cox Barn. You were early to this interview. Commandment has good energy. Further Ado has been very keen in some of his workouts as well. What did you see from him on the 425 work that we saw? I thought he looked really, really keen early and then kind of settled into a little more.
Yeah. He's always been a little aggressive early. He's one that doesn't need company. Since the Kentucky Jockey Club, he's been working solo all winter, and he gets enough out of his moves of the morning. And I thought he drew really well in the Derby. I'm excited about that post for him. I think that should give him an opportunity, as long as he breaks well and everyone around him breaks well, to be somewhat forward and nice stalking track and trip off the top flight. But we'll see. But yeah, in regards to how physically he's doing, he's training great. I mean, obviously had a good move the week before. Not looking to do quite as much with him as, say, Full Effort. Just he's running back in 4 weeks, where Full Effort's running back in 6 weeks.
What I thought was interesting about Further Ado in the Bluegrass is that despite being so far ahead, Irad seemed to still give him education. He threw some crosses. He showed him the whip. He tapped him a little bit, and that kind of caused him to switch off leads. But what did you learn from him in the stretch that day?
Obviously, he took care of business. Big victory, grade 1 win means a lot for this horse moving forward in Spinter Farm. I guess what I learned is maybe galloping out, it just seemed like there was still horse there. And I said the same thing. He said, man, I had more horse. So, it's encouraging. He's a big figure, obviously, just trying to keep him happy and healthy back in 4 weeks. And I think we're in a good spot right now. I love how he's training.
And then the other day we saw Full Effort, who's kind of been the wise guy buzz horse. I think with that last work that he had, he might have squashed any concern about the surface, him not being a dirt horse, because he looked like he moved so effortlessly over this track here at Churchill. Is that what you saw from him as well?
Yeah, great breeze. I mean, his last two have been really good works. Gallop out was great. I think I had 11 and 3 both weeks, the last 2 weeks, I should say. And he's doing great. I mean, he's physically looks good. He's carrying great flesh, moving well. And I didn't know how he would respond coming off the synthetic, but it's been very positive.
And this is a horse that you actually gallop in draw reins. And for people that don't know, what do you use those for in the mornings when he is galloping? If
you got the right rider, it can help them kind of, it helps the rider collect the horse, and it kind of slows them down a little bit, keeps them from doing too much, and obviously collects the horse and kind of gets them using themselves, a little bit, keeps them from maybe, pushing off a little bit better behind and stuff like that. So it's a tool to help the rider and the horse. It works well as long as you got the right rider using them.
And he went in the Jeff Ruby 1 1/8 for the first time. It looked like he kind of just drifted a little bit in the stretch. Did you attribute that to maybe a little bit of greenness? I know he's a little bit more experienced, or was it just the distance?
I think maybe just getting clear. Sometimes these horses hit daylight, and they're, kind of looking for other horses to be around. So, he'll have plenty of targets in the Derby. We'll be fine.
Certainly so. He's got the good experience. You see him winning the Jeff Ruby there as he kind of got clear, took a second to switch leads, and then as he did, it looked like he did well to kind of go on past horses. Was there any concern for you as they came into the stretch that he maybe wouldn't go on as far as he did?
No, we just off his 2 runs there at Turfway, we felt like the mile and 1/8 would be something that he liked. Obviously, Irad worked out a really good trip, and he stayed on well. And I think with the right trip, right setup, he would need. He can handle the 1.25 miles.
And in the Kentucky Oaks, you've won that race 3 times, so it seems like you're a pro at this and hoping to get another one with a couple of entries. Prom Queen is one of those that worked the other day here. She looked super keen as well and came out a little bit later in the morning. Was that by design to maybe keep her under wraps a little more?
Yeah, we just train her later. It's just something we've done with her all winter. Yeah, I thought her work was good, and I really like this filly. After she broke her maiden, we zeroed in on the Gulfstream Oaks, and she was training really well leading up, and she responded well. I mean, I thought it was a good group of fillies there at Gulfstream, and she handled them, and, she'll need to take another step forward, but the way she's training, I think she can.
Anything you do different with her to make up for a little bit of inexperience for her?
Not really, no. I tell you, when she broke her maiden, Javier, it was a short field, but Javier did a good job of, kind of educating her a good bit when responded. She's behind horses and give her a good education, like I said, and she responded really well that day. So, we'll see, but she's fit and ready to roll.
Well, certainly we wish you good luck and hope that in addition to the Kentucky Oaks, you can get a Kentucky Derby trophy picture this time. Of course, being a crowned Kentucky Derby winning trainer with Mandaloun after the defection in 2021. But we're looking forward to you hopefully toasting in that winner's circle. Brad, best of luck with all the horses you have this week.
Thanks, Megan. Appreciate it.
Travis, back to you in the studio.
Very candid Brad Cox getting ready for his Oaks Derby weekend, and he's got 3 horses in the Derby. Most trainers would love to have just one of them. Danon Bourbon, a horse who will be making his North American racing debut, 3 for 3 over in Japan. I must say, early in his career, I thought this horse looked like a potential Derby horse. He came over to Churchill Downs, and this is him on screen, Nick. By all accounts on the backstretch, he's a little taking it in quite a bit. There was a lot going on for him. He was anxious and active, and Kevin Kirstein, who of course works for Churchill Downs, wants to see how he behaves the next couple of days to see if he becomes a potential candidate for this year's Derby.
Yeah, obviously a vastly different environment than what he's accustomed to, but it's of course sort of funny to see he's got a truly American-based pedigree, being a Maxfield out of a Tappet mare, a horse that was sold at the Keeneland September sale in 2024, so obviously plenty of connections to North America, to the United States of America in particular. And I do think it's interesting year in and year out to see some of the differences in the training patterns and the styles of the Japanese invaders. This is a horse that has done even a little different things than we've seen from like a Forever Young and Luxor Cafe and some of the horses that have come by in recent years, but looks all good all in all.
Yeah, big chance. Maxfield, you mentioned the North American pedigree, was sold right down the road at Keeneland. Ren Carruthers did a deep dive in Ren's lab of pedigrees. And Ren, what'd you find on Danon Bourbon?
Well, it is funny. I mean, he's got that passport stamp to be here at the Kentucky Derby, but this is actually a homecoming for him. He's a Kentucky bred, y'all. He is a son of Maxfield, and Maxfield was so successful over this track, 5 for 5, that they named a race for him, a stakes race. He capped his career in the Grade 1 Clark. And while Maxfield never ran in the Kentucky Derby, he did run in the Santa Anita Handicap, the big cap. He got beat 2 lengths that afternoon. But Maxfield, look at his pedigree, man. He is by Street Sense, who won the Kentucky Derby. He's out of a daughter of Bernardini. Bernardini was champion 3-year-old of 2006. And then when we look, and don't forget, by the way, with Bernardini, he himself is a son of AP India. We talked about AP India a lot. He's a very potent stamina source. He's a Hall of Famer. He won the Classic. He won the Belmont Stakes. He himself is son of Seattle Slew and out of a daughter of Secretariat. So you have Triple Crown champions top and bottom when you see AP Indy. Now let's drop it down to the bottom side of that pedigree. Danon Bourbon is out of Wild Ridge, and Wild Ridge is a daughter of Tappet. Tappet is a wellspring of stamina himself. He shares the record for the most Belmont winners. That's 1.5 miles for those who don't know. And Tappet himself, son of Pulpit, who's a son of AP Indy. And so there's lots of stamina. It's a beautiful pedigree. How he takes to the Kentucky Derby coming from Japan, we'll find out, guys.
Thank you, Ren. Danon Bourbon, of course, probably about, what, 30-1? Maybe dipping
20,
down?
yeah. I mean, 20 is what I made him.
Potente for trainer Bob Baffert. You might get a Bob Baffert horse at a big price as well. It's hard to believe. Baffert's had so many successes here in the Kentucky Derby, and he worked out yesterday, and that's not a typo. In fact, we checked it off camera just to double check it and be sure. Track was fast yesterday, so take that for what it's worth, but this is a quick workout for Potente.
This is a dangerous horse, Travis. I mean, I looking at the PPs of this race a couple of weeks ago and I put them together, I thought to myself, this is just kind of the emerging horse that you want to keep an eye on. And I think showing a little bit of versatility in terms of running style makes him a bit more appealing. I think the Derby might be a little too much too soon, but I wouldn't be shocked if this is a horse that runs relatively well and comes back in a couple of weeks and maybe targets a race like the Preakness.
Last night, my girlfriend Olivia and I went through and mapped out all the pace scenarios, and Potente figures to get a juicy trip with a potentially even a ground-saving trip just off the speed. Megan Devine, what do you got for us?
Yeah, Travis, I actually got the chance to talk to Martin Garcia a little bit as I was driving into to work this morning just about what he felt on Potente, and he said this horse is a beast. After he galloped out, he pulled him up, and obviously they let him go for a little bit longer, and he said the horse just took 2 deep breaths, and that was it. It didn't even seem like he was tired, so I know this work, 5 furlongs and 57 and change, he really didn't seem to tire him out at all. So he got elevated to my top 5 for sure after this one.
Potente taking 2 deep breaths, which is a lot less than you and I took walking up the steps to get to the Aristides Loft. Albus is one of 2 runners for trainer Riley Mott. This horse is going to come from well off the pace, potentially second, third to last early, and will appreciate the more pace.
Yeah, without question. Yeah, kind of funny to have a Yopon, first crop Yopon in the Kentucky Derby, but obviously paired up pedigree-wise with a Bernardini mare. And this is a horse who's long-winded without question. Obviously finished the Wood Memorial with a flourish. It was a race that was run at a pretty strenuous early pace. We thought it would kind of come apart a little bit on paper. It did so when all was said and done, and Albus was the one that got the job done. Interesting to me here that Riley worked him on the inside, not something that you always see from horses going into an objective like this, but I thought this was a good, useful drill and a horse that this might be a little more than he can handle at this stage of the game, but I think if you wanted to identify a horse that down the line will likely blossom into a grade 1 caliber horse, he seems like a candidate.
Yeah, Riley Mott, and we have sound on Riley. We'll hear shortly. He told us last night he was happy with both of these works. I think the problem for Albus is he's one of 6, 7, or 8 deep closers, and the rest of them just seem to be a little bit faster.
Yeah, he has not put forth that big effort speed figure-wise that would indicate he's of this caliber. The Wood Memorial was a grab bag in many ways, and the better horses in it were ones that were going to show speed. They did so, and he was kind of the last man standing. So I think this will ultimately prove a little too tough for him, but he's obviously coming in the right way.
Right to Party was getting to him late, too, in the very waning stages there of that Wood Memorial. Riley Mott also has Incredible, who turned a lot of heads last year here at Churchill Downs, winning the Street Sense. We've talked a lot about how his 3-year-old debut was nothing short of putrid, but with a huge bounce back in the Virginia Derby. I think Incredible is sneaky for 3rd, 4th, maybe some underneath type action. I don't know if he's good enough to win this Derby, but he's going to give a good showing of himself, in my opinion.
Yeah, he also ran on a dead rail in the Holy Bull, and that hurt quite a bit. Came back with a good effort in the Virginia Derby. Obviously a horse who's comfortable being on the inside. I think the connections might have preferred for him to get the 2 rather than Albus so that he could ride the rail. He did come up the inside in the Virginia Derby. I thought this was an excellent work, a horse obviously that likes this surface. He feels like clearly the more dangerous of Riley's pair, and a horse that might have, like you're saying, the potential to get into the money here. I think Jaime Torres just needs to work out the right trip.
Riley Mott, 2 starters in the Kentucky Derby. Good for him. Let's hear what he had to say.
Albus was very good. It was a very workmanlike and typical work for him. Wasn't looking for anything, overly complicated. We put him down on the inside of his workmate and just had his workmate sort of press him along. And they were 49-1 out 102 in a couple, so looked like he did it well within himself and was getting over the track well. And looks like he's recovering, extremely well after the work. I compare that horse to a race car in that he's got plenty of gears underneath the hood, and he's always at your fingertips. And we had Jaime track his workmate. They went off perfectly. The pace was, exactly what we were looking for. And at the quarter pole, he ranged up next to his company and let him, cruise down the lane with his ears up and galloped out very well. They were 47 out, 59 and 4, but it was certainly the right way. I mean, under really no encouragement at all. It was all the horse, and Jaime said he pulled up and the horse didn't even take a deep breath. So, I think he's coming into the race the right way, and whether that's good enough to win, we'll see. But we're very confident in how each horse is doing physically and mentally.
From one Mott to another, Riley's dad, Bill Mott, who of course won last year's Kentucky Derby, he will be starting Chief Wallaby. Lightly raced, in my opinion, a sneaky contender for this Kentucky Derby, but I also could make the case that perhaps this is 1 or 2 races too soon for him. Here's Chief Wallaby working.
I think there's a lot about his profile that you can like, even though he only has 3 starts. Bill Mott basically went around telling everyone how nuts he was for running him in the Fountain of Youth. For him to only come out and lose the race by a neck to a commandment getting a good trip up the inside. It looks like this horse has really flourished since he got here locally. Bill Mott obviously spent a long part of his career as the all-time leading trainer at Churchill Downs. This horse is going to get a lot of money. He was ultimately one that I moved down odds-wise because of the positive reports here and because of how much support recent Derby-winning trainers get from the general public. He looks like a main contender to me, Travis. Looks like a horse who's versatile enough to be anywhere. Blinkers on as well. Should keep him a little more forward.
Trainer Bill Mott, Junior Alvarado, we caught up with both of them. Let's see what they had to say.
I suggested to the riders that what type of work I wanted, and I asked for like a 49 type work. I wanted them to finish up together and gallop out together, and that's exactly what they did. He was 49 and 1, galloped out in 101 and change, which, very nice work. His gallop out was good. The main thing was Junior felt like he had a lot of horse underneath him and was very responsive and did what he wanted him to do. It's been very good. I mean, since the beginning of the year, we had some hiccups, I guess, as a 2-year-old, and we had to wait on him until January to get him started. But ever since then, things have gone quite smoothly.
It was more like a maintenance work. He has done everything we asked last week. I think last week was the day that we needed to see how the blinkers was going to work for him. And I used today, we just more trying to keep him happy and let him stretch his leg out there. And, he did that very, very, very easily. With Chief, I think he's just heading into this race. We're about to see probably his best race yet. So, I'm pretty happy with that. And like I said, I'm just glad to be teaming up with Mr. Mott again. He's one who knows how to do those things and how to win a big, great one.
Good-looking horse there, that Chief Wallaby. So too incredible. That's a good-looking horse as well. Those were positive comments from both Riley and Bill. Let's not sugarcoat it. Jeff Mullins had a different tone after Intrepido's work here yesterday.
Well, the word Intrepido means, among other things in terms of adjectives, brave or daring. Probably little daring here, going 45 flat, I think out in 57 and change. Jeff Mullins was a little perturbed with the quickness of this workout. Hard to imagine this horse can work 6 days out going this quickly and come back and still deliver a top-notch effort.
I just wonder what it means in terms of the pace. Is this going to sharpen him up, or is this going to kind of dull him down? He's drawn down inside, and as a horse that has good gate speed, he breaks from the gate well, and some of his better races have been on the lead, so we'll see if Intrepido ends up near the front. Pavlovian is another horse who figures to have a say in the early portions of the race. I worry, though, Nick, about his ability to get out of the gate. He's got a lot of races where he was a bit flat-footed coming out of there. A couple of excuses here or there, perhaps, but I don't know if he's totally a gate horse.
Yeah, for your purposes, obviously, you're going to be looking at that gate break pretty keenly. He's breaking towards the outside. We're going to get a view of the workout here, courtesy of Doug O'Neill. A horse that obviously, since they've shown more speed with him, his fortunes have risen. And we talk about this a lot from a handicapping perspective. Horses that have speed need to use it. And now that they've put this horse in the mix in his last 2 starts, he's run his 2 best races by far.
This is such a cool view. I actually watched this video earlier today, maybe it was last night. Didn't even realize we'd have it on the show this morning. A true experience of what it's like to work a horse heading for the Kentucky Derby here at Churchill Downs. This horse improved when they stretched him out. Going farther, his form improved a little bit as well.
Yeah, he has a pedigree geared towards going longer. I think when they they stopped trying to make him an off-the-pace horse as well. So going longer, naturally you're going to show speed if you're stretching out off the sprints, and he did just that. I like the way he's running his last couple of starts. He feels like a pace factor, probably not much more than that.
Yeah, if he can get out of the gate, he can get some position. Otherwise, he's going to be up against it, I think, as you can see him whip around that first turn in the first turn grandstand here at Churchill that will be filled on Friday and Saturday for this year's Oaks and Derby. And now we head to the gallop out of this breeze for Pavlovian.
It feels a lot quicker watching it that way, right?
It does, yeah. Pretty cool view.
Now, very cool view. I'd be wondering where the rearview mirrors were.
Yeah, Pavlovian there heading back to the barn after his workout. And we've also got some sound from Doug O'Neill. So we got some footage from Doug and we got some sound. He's really helping us out this year. Let's hear what Doug had to say.
He's big, strong, homebred of Paul and Zilla Redhams. We're blessed our barn had his stallion, Pavel, and the mare, Mandy's Grace. So very, very home, a lot of home cooking there. And cool horse, battle-tested, 10 starts under his belt. One of them he came back without a rider. So it's like 9.5 starts, I guess, or 9, something like that. But just really a horse who's got a strong resume. I think in a field of 20 horses, you're going to get bumped around. You're going to be standing in the gate longer than you ever have. And, having a horse with the more starts, I think, is an asset. We're playing that card. And since we added Edwin Maldonado, we're just seeing the best version of Pavlovian. So we're super pumped and optimistic and excited. Just trying to keep their mind calm and trying not to get them too much on edge. And, what we've been doing lately with him his last few races is his final work's been out of the gate. We did the same thing today and very happy with that. And, again, Edwin has just been an amazing addition to Pavlovian. And they get along super. And we're... Again, super optimistic, and we still got a week to go, but we're very happy. I love the draw. I think in a 20-horse field, being towards the outside is a good thing. And the 2 races we got lucky in, one, we were 13 and 19, so we were in the outer 10. But no, I think 16 hole is perfect. Good clean break. Got a long run to the first turn, and just trying to stay out of any chaos, any traffic you can, and I think it's easier being farther outside like that. After the San Diego Derby, he stumbled pretty good leaving there, and it just kind of cost him all chance. And after that race, talking to Mr. Kelly of Kellyman Farms and his people, we decided we just would point towards the Preakness. Then about a week ago, I talked to the racing office here, asked them where we were on the list, and he said, "You're number 31." I said, "Okay," and he said, "But you probably want to prepare them like you're going to get in because there's horses falling like flies." And so we talked to Mr. Kelly and the crew and put him on the plane. He's here now, and he's went from 31 to 23. So, we're still a chance. But even if he doesn't get in, we're a little bit closer to Baltimore here. So we're still shooting for the Preakness if we don't get in here.
Trainer Doug O'Neill, 2-time Kentucky Derby winning trainer. That was a great little bit from him, seeing the workout from the jockey or the rider's point of view and the workmate. It's Dawn at the Downs here at Churchill all week long. Come join us in the mornings. You can see this action live and in the flesh. We'll be back after this with some more talk on the Kentucky Oaks, including Explora, who worked out. And then, of course, we'll roll into the special training session. Be back after this.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With Twin Spires, you can place your bets with confidence. Whether you use handicapping insights, like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires. And now you can race to victory with Twin Spires tournaments.
With over 200 flavor notes to discover, every sip of Woodford Reserve Bourbon is a spectacle for the senses.
And once again, good morning and welcome back to Churchill Downs. As you can see, the tractor is preparing the racing surface for the special Oaks and Derby training session where the racetrack is open to them and them only. Need a special saddle cloth to get on the racetrack to train during that period of time. It's a beautiful morning. Main track is fast, back in the Aristides loft. Travis Stone alongside of Nick Tamero, and we roll into Derby week. It was a good first part of the show. Got a lot of insight from Brad and Doug and Riley and Bill, and it's Derby time.
It is Derby time, which means the action's hot and heavy. Obviously, a lot going on each morning. Seeing a number of horses putting forth their final efforts.
It's Derby day, but it's Oaks night this year. The Kentucky Oaks being run under the lights for the first time. Post time is 8:40. And here we are with the morning line odds set by Nick for this year's Kentucky Oaks. Zany slotted in there at 4-1, but you and I have said a few times, you wouldn't be surprised if several of these ended up going off favored.
Yeah, I mean, legitimately a race, I think, where just looking at this first page, you could make a case for 4 of them.
Yeah.
And maybe one of these, those aren't the right odds. Percy's Bar's not 10-1, I don't believe.
Uh-oh.
She was 6-1.
We've got some drama.
Yeah, we'll see.
Odds drama. Lovely Gray.
Let's hope that wasn't me.
Lovely Gray draws in, though, as we heard earlier today. So that'll make one Dave Portnoy pretty happy.
It will for sure. He's already pretty thrilled about that with Bottle of Rouge's defection. We're taking a look here at Explora, working on the inside, going quickly, 58-4.
Yeah, this is a quick work, but this is a good horse. In fact, if you look at her PPs, what really has she done wrong? I mean, I think the only question for her is the gap off the most
exactly
most recent race.
And I think my approach to it, trying to predict how the public is going to handle it, I don't really know how I'm going to handle it from a wagering perspective or a handicapping perspective. I think the public is going to punish her for it, and just having that inactivity. But you look at her profile; she's a horse with 7 starts where she's gone off favored. I believe it's 4 of which she's been less than even money. Yeah. So how can she not take a tremendous amount of money here? Obviously, Bob has had a ton of success in the Oaks and the Derby, and you would expect her to be a prime contender.
It's a quick, efficient stride she has down inside here. Explorer does. It's a good horse. What do you think of the pace of the Oaks? I think there's a few horses that could go make that thing a little bit quick early.
I think with her having the inside post, she now has to play her hand a little bit early. I don't know if that's necessarily the worst thing. They did seem a little more committed to keeping her forward in the Honeybee. She got involved in a fast pace 2 back in the Las Virginis. I think she'll be in the mix early.
It'll be a full field in this year's Kentucky Oaks, and Lovely Gray has drawn in. And here's a look at Lovely Gray for trainer Kelsey Danner.
She's a Lovely Gray.
Lovely Gray. They're well named. Aptly named.
Aptly named, yeah. Go-Go Gray's stable, ownership here. Of course, Dave Portnoy involved, or he is Go-Go Gray's stable. This is a horse that has done really all of her damage thus far on turf and synthetic. She's got a pedigree geared more towards the grass a little bit sore on the dam side, but a Vacoma, and a horse that made up some ground last out into a slow pace in the Bourbonnette Oaks. Obviously will be a long shot, but has an opportunity to get into the field now.
We'll have to work out a trip from that outside post, about a 1 furlong run to the first turn in that 9 furlong Kentucky Oaks distance here and configuration at Churchill Downs. There's a look at O'Selly and another Kentucky Derby horse making their way onto the racetrack for the special Oaks and Derby training session. We'll take a break, let these horses slide their way onto the racetrack, and we'll take a look at all of them when we come back after this.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With Twin Spires, you can place your bets with confidence. Whether you use handicapping insights, like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires. And now you can race to victory with Twin Spires tournaments.
Elegance is an attitude.
And good morning, welcome back to Churchill Downs, and there's a look at Litmus Test, the distinctive Bob Baffert saddle cloth, blue and yellow diamonds. Litmus Test drawn toward the inside, adding blinkers Here's my question for you, Nick, on litmus test. What chances are he's on the lead by the finish line the first time?
I'd say pretty good. Breaking just outside of Intrepido, who we think will show more speed, perhaps considering what he might have left in the tank after that workout. But I think litmus test has to be forward. They're putting the blinkers back on. Martin Garcia is in the irons. It feels like a situation where they're going to race this horse forwardly, and his best efforts have come when he's been in the mix early.
I mean, if they don't go forward, I don't know what the
Well,
plan would be.
I'm not sure why he's in the race, really, to be perfectly honest, if they're not going to go forward. Bob is a guy who's won a number of big races by utilizing his horse's speed, and Martin's been on board for a good number of those. So it feels like just a natural recipe for this horse to be forwardly placed. I wonder a little bit about last out, and if you can just draw a line through it based on the Arkansas Derby, I've come to the conclusion, Travis, this horse just really hasn't gone on as a 3-year-old, and it feels like it's asking an awful lot to suddenly turn things around.
It is. This is litmus test getting into the training starting gate, which is located just off the top of the stretch here at Churchill Downs. You can see Jimmy Barnes, assistant trainer to Bob Baffert in the background, the schooling exercise here. I believe it's a schooling exercise. I don't think he's supposed to breeze. I doubt it. I don't believe that was in the works. Just kind of getting him used to the starting gate and the view here at Churchill Downs.
He'll spend an appreciable amount of time in the gate, obviously being the 4, so this might be a matter of getting him comfortable in there. There will be about roughly 148,000 more people cheering.
Yeah. The way they load for the Derby, post 1, post 11, they go in first, then 2 and 12, and 3 and 13. So if you're drawn inside, you do have to spend some time. Is that Michael McCarthy there in front of us?
It sure is.
Looks like him.
Yeah.
If it's not him, it looks like him, his doppelganger, as litmus test did just stand in the starting gate for a little bit and getting a view here of the main track at Churchill Downs on this Dawn at the Downs, I should say. A lot of folks out here. Now we've got Great White. There we go. This horse is Barbara Livingston had a great photo of 2 horses in a horse trailer, Great White and somebody else, and he was obviously he's feeling good right now, but he was looked almost like a foot taller than the other horse in the trailer.
A big boy.
Yeah. John Ennis says you can go ahead and toss the bluegrass, draw a line through it. I wonder what his angle there is. 'Cause he didn't run very well.
He did not, and it was his debut on the dirt, which obviously you don't like seeing that. A horse that had run really well in the John Battaglia Memorial, but you get worried when these horses move to the dirt. How are they going to perform? Certain trainers do better with it than others. Not that John Ennis is incapable of doing well with it, but he did not take the step forward you would have liked to see in his first dirt start.
You could see the other horses passing in front of Great White and the size of him compared to pretty much everybody else. Look at the size, even other Derby horses, he just towers.
Well, that one looks like a pony behind him.
Yeah, comparatively.
They're carrying good flesh. This is my kind of guy.
There you go. 6 Speed is on the racetrack, and we are told he is supposed to breeze today.
That's the understanding, yeah, that he's going to breeze. Trainer Bhupat Simar has 6 Speed. This is his second Derby starter. Bhupat spent 5 years working for Bob Baffert. Summer is Tomorrow was his first Derby starter back in 2022, a horse that's similar to 6 Speed, had a lot of early speed, but 6 Speed comes over by way of Dubai, having finished second in the UAE Derby last time out. He schooled in the paddock yesterday afternoon, slated to work here, which I guess we're going to see in the coming seconds.
He's drawn outside of Pavlovian. He's toward the outer part of the gate. His races so far have been nothing but speed. I don't want to say he's cheap speed because I think this horse really does have some talent. So whether or not he has 10 furlong speed, I think, is the fair question. And the way the draw has shaken out, and I just got confirmation from Kevin Kirstein, he is breezing. So this is going to be a workout here for 6 Speed. The way the draw has shaken out for him, he's going to have to go if he wants to clear horses like Pavlovian, who I worry a little bit less about because he sometimes doesn't get out of the gate. But if Litmus Test is going and 6 Speed is going, all of a sudden you've got 2 pretty quick horses out there in a very long run to the turn with 150,000 screaming people.
And I think that's the part of it when you're trying to map out a pace scenario you can't really put a gauge on, is how much these horses are going to really go forth with a quarter-mile plus run to the turn. And you put those kind of horses on a straightaway, we see certain configurations around the country for races, and the paces naturally get faster because of the amount of time they're simply running on a straightaway. 6 Speed is a horse that has shown, as you said, ample early speed. He's had a couple of starts where he did rate a little bit off of it. The choice of Brian Hernandez Jr. as a rider, not a guy that you would necessarily really point to as one that's going to aggressively pursue the early lead. I think we could end up seeing a outside stalking trip for him. Just might be a horse that puts a little more heat into the pace rather than necessarily makes the pace.
Yeah, I would like to see him on the lead if I were them. I think that would be his best chance, but I do think litmus test drawing in has perhaps reduced that possibility a slight bit as he comes through the lane here. 6 speed, right about the 16th pole. Got a lot of gear on.
Well, you and I would want all of our horses on the lead. Let's be realistic.
That's
right?
true, too.
There's a lot less that can go wrong when you're on the lead and you have a horse with speed. There does seem to be certain connections enamored with the idea that, oh, he can rate, he can rate, he can rate. Yes, more than likely most of them can rate. They're just more effective when they're on the lead. So this is a horse that opened up a big advantage in the UAE Derby. It's kind of a funny pedigree when you dig into the dam side. It's a Phipps pedigree. So a lot of people have kind of charged him with being more of a sprinter, more of a distance-limited horse. But you go back a couple generations, there's multiple winners at 1.25 miles plus.
6 speed in his gallop out, heading past the various gaps on the backstretch here at Churchill Downs. And we've also got Renegade on track, the morning line favorite, 4-1. He's drawn the rail. He will need every bit of Irad Ortiz's skill to negotiate a Derby-winning trip from there. Quick note, 6 speed went 48-4 in his 4 furlong breeze, his final 4 furlong breeze, of course, before the Derby. Anyway, Renegade, draw post 1.
Look to have done so with pretty good amount of ease. Renegade obviously completed the bulk of his morning activity in South Florida, made his way here a couple days ago, now on the track again, breaking from the rail. You know, a horse obviously that's going to be doing his best running late. He was always going to be coming from off the pace, regardless of where he broke from. And I think the whole rail conversation is getting a little overblown because of the bad memories people have of horses like Looking at Lucky and situations where breaking from the inside was a major disadvantage. Let's remind everyone, you're probably aware, but why not? It's a 20-horse starting gate now, and breaking from the inside is not nearly the disadvantage that it was years ago. I know people might say, well, you're just saying that because you didn't adjust his odds upward after he drew the inside, and I didn't adjust his odds upward. One of the reasons is because I don't think it's that big a disadvantage. I don't think it's as much of a disadvantage as it was before, and I think when you hear about the, outside posts are better, so on and so forth, you're talking about people now willingly taking on potentially a 4 to 5 wide trip. Perhaps I'm talking myself into this, Travis, but as I go on with it, I feel more confident.
There you go. In mapping out the pace, I do worry that there's a lot of horses that want to sit in that second tier, sort of not the pressers, but the stalkers to the mid-pack and early closers that he's going to have to negotiate with. We're talking horses like Commandment and 6 Speed and the Puma and Emerging Market and Wonder Dean and Further Ado. They're all going to be ahead of him. Potente is going to be ahead of him. Chief Wallaby's going to be ahead of him. He's going to have to find a path as all those horses both, make their moves and potentially some of the other speeds start to back up toward him as well. We've seen amazing rides up the inside with Street Sense, Calvin Burrell, those types. Mind That Bird came up the inside, so it can be done. But I must admit, it is a little concerning from a handicapping perspective.
Really?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it a little bit. Because when you map out the pace, like he is down inside of Wonder Dean and Credit Bolt's back there, and so is Silent Tactic. It's just going to be a lot of horses trying to make these moves on the far turn, and so much can go wrong. And I kind of wonder, at what point do you want to take that 4-1? You want a little bit more juice for the opinion. I don't know.
And so I do think that the rail draw takes less than 4-1 out of the equation. It now obviously introduces the prospect that he goes off maybe upwards of 9-2 or somewhere in that range. I'm not looking to bet Renegade. My task was figuring out how the public is going to bet. I would encourage everyone to go watch last year's Derby and look at where Sovereignty and Journalism were after a half mile of that race. It all is going to depend on the pace itself. If you think there's going to be enough pace, first of all, this is not a horse that has to come from way out of it.
That's a good point. He has a little bit more push button than some of the others.
Right.
Yeah.
You watch the Sam Davis. He was a little farther back in the Arkansas Derby. It almost seemed like Irad did so willingly, but he doesn't have to be that far off of it. And, let's be realistic. The guy that you're entrusting to figure out where to go is the best rider in the colonies, one of the best riders in the world. I'll take his approach.
Megan Devine, what are you seeing back there?
Yeah, guys, I agree with you, and obviously the rail draw is something to think about there, but Renegade is definitely in my top selections for Derby, and I just wanted to say he looked fantastic as he came by me here at the Lucas Gap, and you can see on the screen right now just how strong this horse is. Look how much the rider is using her body weight to kind of pull back against him, and, he looks to be doing everything really easily. He certainly has a lot of good energy, but what I like about him is that he's gone to the track. This is now the second day here. He's got his ears pricked. As he came by the big crowd that we have here on the backside, he didn't seem to turn a hair. I don't even think he flicked an ear in that direction. So it looks like a horse who's been training really well. I like the way, I think this is Sophie Green that's been aboard him in the mornings, who works for Todd Pletcher, but he looks like that classic kind of Derby type of body that we like to see. I mean, Sovereignty kind of has that big classic look as well. And I think Renegade, just looks fantastic out there with a lot of energy. He looks like he's sitting on a big effort, regardless of what post position he would have drawn the other day.
I think, Nick, the counter, thank you, Megan. The counter to some of the points that you made, here, number one is, I think there's a lot more closers in this year's Derby as opposed to last year. I would say that's point number one. Point number two, is Renegade even the fastest horse numbers-wise in this race?
He is not. And so that is part of the conversation. That's more of a handicapping conversation for sure. And I think one of the things, I think you and I share the opinion that if you're looking at this race from a handicapping perspective, he's probably no better than the third best on numbers. Yeah. His Arkansas Derby Beyer speed figure was 98, which was among the better figures in the race. It was not the best figure in the race by any means. I think it's safe to say Further Ado ran as well in the Bluegrass, ran better in the Bluegrass than Renegade did in the Arkansas Derby, respectively. I think there were some visual elements of the Arkansas Derby that people kind of honed in on. Those are generally not the kind of things guys like you and I are as worried about. I think from a handicapping perspective, he's a horse that I would have a hard time taking a short price on, independent of a conversation about the post.
Yeah. Renegade will be coming from off the pace, and we'll see if he can get going early and work his way through that traffic. The Puma's on the racetrack as well. Here's a horse that, in my opinion, surprised me in the Florida Derby. He ran so well in the Tampa Bay Derby. He obviously had the talent, and I said to myself, well, they don't need to really do much in the Florida Derby. They're just going to kind of use it as a quasi-workout, if you will, and then he nearly won.
Yeah, they leaned on this horse all spring, and he just kept delivering. It's really admirable to think that he went from a maiden race on January 10th to coming back in the Sam Davis 4 weeks later, Tampa Bay Derby 4 weeks later, Florida Derby 3 weeks later. And it's probably only that reason that I'm not as concerned that he's not going to have an official timed workout for 2 weeks leading up to the Derby. His final timed workout was at Gulfstream on April 18th. He is clearly a horse that is tough. He's tenacious in the fact that he's very productive every time he runs. He seems to have kind of a nose for the wire as well. So I'm put him on the list of candidates.
Megan Devine, as he starts to head past where you are, what are you seeing from the Puma?
Well, one of the great things about being at this location here is that a lot of the connections kind of stand right nearby to watch their horses as they're going by. And I will say that Gustavo Delgado and Gustavo Delgado Jr. seemed really pleased with the way that this horse looked. It looks like he's developing more. I mean, I think he's put on a little bit of weight, some muscle. He's kind of a smaller body type, maybe a little bit more compact than some of these other horses in the field, but it looks like he's developing well. And you guys talking about his past couple of races that he's had. I mean, for me, as when I'm doing my handicapping and just watching these replays, one of my concerns is just the way that this horse always seems to dart over to the rail. It seems like he still has that greenness in him, and obviously that's something that you want to try to combat as much as you can, but I think for him, he's mentally developed as he's been here at Churchill Downs, which has been helpful as well. So he looked good on the track coming by my spot, Travis.
The Puma nearly won the Florida Derby, won the Tampa Bay Derby. The Santa Anita Derby went to a horse named So Happy. I think the Santa Anita Derby, I think you have to make a decision. Are you buying or selling that prep? Because if you're buying that prep, you've got two really interesting horses for this Kentucky Derby, both in So Happy and Potente. I'm having a hard time getting a read either way. So Happy, though, he's done very little wrong, and that was a nice win.
I'm buying futures on it, if you could do that, right? I'm not buying today, but I'd like to buy down the line. I think the chances that there's a future Grade 1 winner among, obviously So Happy already is a Grade 1 winner, but chances of a future Grade 1 win among the first two finishers, and they're very high. I think they're both kind of same pattern, emerging, getting better each and every start.
Here's my Miss Mo for trainer Safi Joseph Jr. She figures to be part of the pace. She got cooked in a pace 2 back at Gulfstream Park and was able to enjoy a softer pace last time. She just has to take a big step forward to contend with some of these.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like the most outrageous pace, race pace-wise, so she can be somewhat forwardly placed, but obviously would have to improve quite a bit. Needs to find some distance on Prom Queen alone, but a horse, obviously, that'll make her presence known, I think, with a forwardly placed trip.
My Miss Mo, one of several horses that maybe not necessarily one-way speed in that Oaks, but want to be a little bit forward, but I do think she's the most likely candidate to set the pace early in the Oaks. Pashmina is out on the racetrack as well. She's potentially got a little bit of speed. This horse has traveled all around the United States.
She really has, and it's funny, I had bet her a couple starts back at Fairgrounds and kind of cursed afterwards that they didn't use her speed, and then it turned out that in the Gazelle they did, and Ramon Vasquez is back on board. She's breaking now from the 12. I think it'd be safe to assume she's going to be forwardly placed. If so, I think she obviously not only enhances her opportunity to win the race, but obviously contributes to the pace overall. Pashmina is a horse that's shown some talent from the beginning and maybe just now is figuring out how to put it all together.
She exits the racetrack there, and who do we got here? Right to Party. We talked about when we mentioned Albus earlier. Right to Party was getting to Albus late. This is trainer Kenny McPeak's runner for Chester Broman out of New York. I think Right to Party is last early, and it's whether or not this horse can improve a little bit, and there's a wild pace in front of him.
I think I'd set the over-under on his finishing position at about 9.5.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Pick up some pieces late.
Does that mean?
No, it's practical. Pragmatic.
I'm a pragmatic guy,
Yeah,
right.
pragmatic.
I love the song Right to Party by the Beastie Boys.
Kenny McPeak said they were going to try and get the Beastie Boys involved somehow.
Well, there's one that won't show up, but yeah.
Yeah. Right to Party on the racetrack. Deep, deep closer. He was getting to Albus when I watched the replay. I made a note of that. Albus had a good trip, kind of made that move.
He ran a better race in the Gotham than it looks on paper, too. He had a little compromise at the start. Probably a horse that just needs more ground.
My Miss Mo again on the racetrack, stretching her legs. We talked about her having a bit of early speed, which, I don't know. That run to the first turn, I mentioned it before, is quick here at Churchill. You hit the wire, and the turn is right there. So you only have one furlong to get position. It's a big field, and if you can get position over some of your rivals, you could probably pick up a couple of net lengths there.
You know who was actually, not to interrupt you, but you know who was an interesting addition to the field late in the game was Dazzling Dame. Because Dazzling Dame's a horse with legitimate early speed. If she shows the kind of speed that she has, actually have kind of liked her all spring, and I think the bloom in many ways is off the rose with the Virginia Oaks effort. She's going to be a little bit forward, and she's more of that committed one-way speed than we've seen really in this field so far. So I think between Explorer getting the rail and Dazzling Dame getting into the field, that really quickened the pace quite a bit.
It's going to help Zany, who probably will appreciate that added pace and the added distance. She kind of ran out of racetrack a little bit last time in the Ashland.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's a pretty safe assumption. She's a horse that has always sort of given the impression that she wants more ground. I'd ask you this question. Is the best running line in this field her Demoiselle last year? For late season 2-year-old, that was a pretty good race.
It was stout. I like to return to the Suncoast, too. Looked just like a green 3-year-old trying to figure things out.
Well, especially the way Life of Joy came back to run in her next start. So I would imagine everything points to Zany getting the right kind of trip. Hopefully there's enough pace in there for her. But I think now some of the things we just went over virtually ensures that there will be.
Dawn at the Downs. Come on out, join us every morning here. You can check out these workers yourself in person. Always look at the crowd. Derby is such a big deal here in Louisville. We talked to Todd Pletcher. We got some sound on him talking about his runners, both his Oaks and Derby runners. Let's hear what Todd had to say.
Yeah, shipped in great. Everything went smoothly. Got here very early Saturday morning. Just kind of chilled out for the day and went out, had a once-around gallop this morning, took everything in stride, and seems to have settled in well. Yeah, he's a very competitive colt. Hopefully, I think the real key is just, even though we don't expect him to be forwardly placed, we just need him to break well. I kind of went back and watched all the replays of, the start of the races since they have the new starting gate, and, I think that does help a little bit, but it's still very important to get away from the gate and get some position. And, looking back, I think looking at Mo Donegal and Known Agenda, I think it definitely compromised their chances in the race. But also, Irad rode both of them, so hopefully he kind of learned something that, that he might be able to use to his advantage here. I think the way he's been finishing his races, the way he finished really well in the Remsen after having a pretty rough race into the first turn. Then the Sam Davis, came home in really explosive fashion the last 16th of a mile. And that's what we saw again in Arkansas. So, I think he's proven that, the distance should be within his range. And if he can continue to finish his races the way he has, then, I think that gives him a chance. I think the Ashland sets are up very well for this. We were concerned about the track at Keeneland and the short finish line, and might work against her a little bit. Thought Percy's Bar ran an excellent race, got the jump on us, cut the corner, and that was kind of the deciding factor. We were still closing well at the end, but we're looking forward to the additional 16th of a mile here. I think she's been looking for more distance, and we feel like hopefully that set her up to have her best performance here.
Trainer Todd Pletcher joked that he and his wife were flying to Louisville when the post draw was when it occurred. He drew the rail and he said he'd reach for the air sickness bag, which I thought was pretty funny. Typical stoic Todd, reach for the air sickness bag. They'll figure it out from post one. Speaking of air sickness, twinspires.com. You bet some horses here or there. It can be very frustrating when you can't make it happen. But one way you can make things happen is the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge. I'm going to call it a major now in the handicapping tournament scene.
No question about it. Obviously, been a big addition to the Twin Spires offering. The tournaments have been for over the course of the last year or so. And the KDBC now definitely among the biggest tournaments of the year.
I didn't mean to segue with the air sickness to twinspires.com.
You kind of worked it out all right.
I thought we were going to BetShare first, because I was going to say I've been involved in a lot of group tickets where you're live to the last leg and it doesn't pan out. But BetShare is a great way to get involved with your friends. You can split the cost of tickets and also split the costs of the wins as well, the winnings that you can have off those BetShares. We'll get this polished up here. Ren Carruthers is on the backstretch. Ren, what do you got?
Well, one of the smiles that's bringing sunshine to every morning is Declan Cannons, and he just got off the back of 6 Speed, putting in that final drill. How did he feel out there?
Felt excellent, yeah, really smooth. Each day he's been here, I've seen an improvement in him. He was very relaxed through the work, and it was very smooth. He went out in 101 and, did it the right way, so very happy with him.
What was the whole plan for today?
Just a maintenance work, just go off in 13s and let him finish up. It was just what you want coming into a race like this. Not too fast, not too slow, just enough to put some air in his lungs.
Shipping internationally obviously can be very taxing on a horse. It looks like he's thriving, though. What would you say?
Absolutely. He's got a lot of stamps on his passport. He's been in a lot of places, so he's a well-travelled pro at this stage.
And just what are you thinking here? I mean, what happens for the rest of the week as we get up to the Kentucky Derby itself?
He'll probably walk tomorrow, gate school Wednesday, and then from there on it's, probably just another maintenance gallop.
All right, Declan, I know you need to get to your kid's school. You're going to be doing a presentation about the rider's life. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's just for the kids, bring in some silks and let them paint some horseshoes. It's Derby week. They're doing a little parade there, so it's fun for the kids. Let them all get involved. It's a big deal around here.
It's a big deal. You're a big deal. You got to start them young, everybody. Declan Cannon, right off 6 Speed, and off to do some ambassador work.
Even the jockeys have to do events here Derby week around town. That's cool to see.
Not have to, get to.
Get to. There you go. All right. I mean, we could keep talking and talking and talking, but eventually you have to put the money where your mouth is. Let's figure out some picks here, Nick. I think the world is ready for it. Give us your top 5.
Brass tacks, as they would say. Top 5 for me. Going to start in 5th with Emerging Market, a horse who I think is clearly getting better with each passing start. He's made a great impression here. I think likely to be one of the horses that we see down the line, but good enough to get in the mix here. I put Renegade 4th, obviously the morning line favorite. Should go off one of the co-favorites with the 2 Brad Cox runners, who I have 3rd and 2nd, respectively. I've had a lot of respect for what Commandment's done throughout the spring. Our kind of horse, right? A horse that's overcome adversity, been able to deliver every single time, beaten good competition. Chief Wallaby, a horse that I think is just going to be a bit better price. And ultimately in the Derby, you want to shop for the best price. I love the way this horse has looked coming into it. I think he's got the versatility from a running style perspective to be a little closer in a race that looks like it might not have as much speed. And I want to really hone in on that as what ultimately tipped me his direction.
It would feel like Chief Wallaby has had the, quote, Derby work that everybody talks about, like the workout that everybody talks about.
Exactly. Maybe not as significant as in years past with certain horses, but he's done incredible since he's been here.
All right, Megan, it's your time. What do you got?
pressure's on, when you have to give those top 5 horses. I feel like a lot can change in the week, but I'll commit to a top 5 at least for now. I got to say, Potente, after that last work that we saw, this horse definitely, I thought he was so impressive. That 57 work was great for him. And honestly, I think he may have been pushed a little bit more by Robusta last time. So I'm willing to kind of excuse that second place effort a little. I think he's sitting on a really big effort. Bob Baffert knows how to win Kentucky Derby, so I'm going to put him in the 5th spot. I also had Commandment, and Commandment I kind of have on there because if I like Chief Wallaby, I think I kind of have to like Commandment, and I do like Commandment with the way that he has been training leading up to this spot, and especially getting to talk with Brad Cox a little bit earlier. And I agree with you guys. Chief Wallaby, this is the horse that has impressed me this week, in the past couple of weeks, watching him train for this race. I think the blinkers on is going to make a big difference for him. If you watch his replays, he's a horse that doesn't really seem like he was able to kind of get down and finish out those races, and I think the blinkers adding on is going to really help him to do that. So I expect him to take a big step forward, and after that work, it certainly looked like it. And then Renegade, of course, he looked fantastic on the track here this morning. I think he is just a horse who has done the same thing in each one of his races, which is circle the field on the outside and win impressively. He looks like a Derby winner, but of course, a closer leaves him just a little bit vulnerable, which puts me with Further Ado as my top selection at those 6-1 odds. I gotta love the price. I just have loved the way that this horse has been training. And, we heard from Brad Cox earlier about how this horse has been training. He's very strong in the mornings. I think he's sitting on a big effort, and I just think he's really done nothing wrong. I know, Travis, I've heard you say on the show before, this is one of those horses that will look back and be like, oh yeah, so obvious. He won by 20 lengths, by 11 lengths, etc. And I'm kind of sticking with that. I think that he's shown himself in the mornings and in races. I think Brad Cox has a really good chance here, and I think Further Ado is the better of his 3 horses to try to get it done for the first Saturday in May. So I'm going to put Further Ado on top for my Kentucky Derby top 5. Travis?
All right. Thank you, Megan, for that. Thank you, Nick. I guess it's my turn now. I will say, I like to say this, I don't bet the races that I call, but I will give some friends some money to bet the Derby because it's un-American to not have some sort of rooting interest in the Derby. I just won't know who they are. We'll find out afterward. Hopefully it's a good text as they cross the wire. Here are my picks for this year's Kentucky Derby. Intrepido. Didn't mean to put Intrepido in there. That might have been a... Intrepido's not my 5th pick. I'll have to go back and check.
It's a brave and daring move.
It's a brave and daring move. That's not my 5th pick. Anyway, Commandment. We'll talk about Commandment. I think Commandment is very good. I think he's going to sit a good trip down inside. I like his consistency. He's not super quick and push button, which is a concern, but a lot of times these grinder types can get a piece of the action. I think Golden Temple, someone had to pick a long shot amongst these chalk eaters here, and I think Golden Temple is super live to come from well off the pace. I loved his last workout at Keeneland. It doesn't take much to hit the board when you're a big price. There's a lot of examples of it if you go through the years. Chief Wallaby, I feel like it might be one race too soon, but I really like this horse just overall from a macro level. I feel like he has good tactical speed now with the blinkers going on. He's going to sit a good trip. I think he's just a very talented horse. And Further Ado is my top pick for what Megan said. We might wake up on Sunday morning and say to ourselves, I can't believe we let Further Ado, who ran the fastest races on paper coming into the race, won races by 20 lengths, 11 lengths, whatever they were, and we let him get away at 6, 7, or 8 to 1. I do think those odds are likely to come down now. I do believe a lot of people are sitting on Further Ado. I'm not as bullish as Brad on him sitting a great trip from that post. When you map out the pace, I do feel like he is at least 3 wide. That's a concern for me. Perhaps that allows the price to drift up a little bit, but Further Ado is my top pick for this year's Kentucky Derby. Intrepido is not my 5th pick. That's probably a mistake. Sorry, Michael, who's been doing a great job producing this show over the past couple of weeks. Well, Nick, this was a lot of fun. Welcome back to Louisville and Derby week.
Yeah, it's been great. No complaints so far. Can't imagine there will be any. I did want to joke about Further Ado that it took a couple of workouts at Churchill Downs for the Keeneland horse for course chatter to stop, right?
It's
2 weeks ago, everybody's, he's a Keeneland horse for course. You can only run at Keeneland. Oh, he had a good workout. He looks great.
He does, in the replays, he does look like
a good horse.
Yeah, he looks like a different horse at Keeneland for a bit, but...
He might get over that track a little bit better, but you know what? He gets over this one fine, so he'll be all right.
All right, folks, we're back tomorrow. We're back all week long. Joe K is back in the saddle tomorrow. As you can see, everybody joining the morning here at Churchill Downs. Come join us this week. It's Derby week, the best week of the year if you are a racing fan, Louisvillian or Kentuckian. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great day.